Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into what might just be the single biggest question anyone can ever ask. It's the one that sits right at the bottom of everything: science, philosophy, our very existence. Just take a second and really let that land. Why is there all of this? A universe packed with galaxies, stars, planets, and us, when there could have just been nothing. An endless, silent, absolute void. You know, every other big why question we ask ourselves, why are we here? What's our purpose? It all leads back to this one. Because if there was nothing, none of those other questions would even be possible to ask. So, where do we even begin?
Well, the most logical place to start is with the something that's actually here. Let's take a look at what modern physics tells us about where our universe came from.
This is it. This is the moment, our scientific ground zero, when our entire observable universe began expanding. It's literally the beginning of space and time as we understand it. But what was it exactly?
Okay, so this is a really important point to get right. We have to clear up a huge pop culture misconception. The Big Bang wasn't some kind of explosion that happened in an empty, dark room. The truth is actually way more mind-bending. It was the expansion of space itself.
Try to imagine this. All the stuff, all the energy of the entire cosmos, squeezed into a single point that was unbelievably hot and dense. And then that point just started expanding. And it hasn't stopped. The universe wasn't created in space. The expansion of the universe is the creation of space.
Okay, so physics gives us a start for something. But that something began from a hyper-dense state, which is, well, it's a long way from nothing. And that brings us to the other half of the question. What is nothing anyway? And you're going to want to brace yourself, because this is where our intuition just gets completely flipped on its head.
When we think about nothing, this is what we all picture, right? A perfect, black emptiness. Total non-existence. It feels simple, stable, like it should be the default setting for reality. And here's the twist. According to our most fundamental understanding of reality, quantum physics, that idea of absolute nothing is exactly that, just an idea. It doesn't seem to be a real physical possibility. True, perfect emptiness might actually be forbidden by the laws of nature.
So if perfect emptiness is off the table, what's left? Well, down at the tiniest quantum level, what we call a vacuum is anything but empty. It's this seething, chaotic, bubbling soup of energy that physicists call quantum foam. In this foam, tiny pairs of particles and antiparticles are constantly popping into existence and then annihilating each other in a flash. So let's just walk through that logic. A real vacuum isn't empty. It's filled with potential energy. But this high-energy state of nothing is incredibly unstable. And one thing we know is that systems in nature always want to move to a more stable, lower-energy state. For the vacuum, that means it has a natural tendency to decay into something, like the particles and energy that make up our universe. It's an incredible thought. Something might exist simply because nothing is too unstable to hang around. This brings us to a really crucial point. Physics can give us a potential mechanism, a how. It can show us a possible path from an unstable vacuum to a universe. But it just can't answer that deeper question, why? Why do these laws of physics exist in the first place?
To even try to tackle why, we really have to shift gears. We have to move out of the world of physics and into the world of philosophy. We got to swap observation and math for logic and pure reason.
And over in philosophy, a couple of major ideas have taken hold. First, there's the argument for what's called a necessary being. This basically says that for anything to exist, there has to be some kind of ultimate foundation, a first cause that wasn't caused by anything else. Something that exists just because its very nature is to exist. The other big idea is the multiverse. This suggests our universe isn't a one-off, but just one bubble in an endless sea of other universes. And if you've got infinite universes, well, the odds are pretty good that at least one, like ours, would end up with the right conditions for something to exist.
So we have these two totally different toolkits we can use to look at this ultimate mystery. Science on one hand and philosophy on the other. Where does that actually leave us? It really all boils down to the type of question each field is trying to answer. Science, with its incredible tools of observation and math, is focused on the how.
It's about the mechanics. Philosophy, using logic and reason, is busy wrestling with the why, the fundamental reason for being.
And here's the honest truth of it all. There's no single answer that everyone agrees on. Science can't tell us why the physical laws are what they are, and philosophy can't offer up any hard proof for its ideas. We are right here, standing at the absolute edge of human knowledge, just staring out into the great unknown.
But maybe finding a final answer isn't really the point. Maybe the real value is in the question itself. I mean, this is the question that pushes our science, that deepens our philosophy. It fuels that basic human need to understand who we are and where we fit in the cosmos. So think about this for a second. The universe exists, and a tiny part of that universe, us, became conscious enough to ask why. Maybe that's the point. Not to solve the riddle, but to be the part of the universe that gets to marvel at it, and to just keep on asking. Thanks for exploring this one with me today.